If only had one green nose. Illustration by Sergio Martinez and Max Lusado. Welcome to the world. Lucia and Punchinello looked at the window of Elle's workshop. Like other Wemmicks, and they were wooden people, but unlike the other Wemmicks, they weren't standing in line with the village below. Look at them all. Punchinello exclaimed. I don't understand it. Lucia wondered. Why would anyone want to paint this nose green? Because everyone else is, Ellie responded, looking at the workbench. Punchinello didn't understand. What do you mean? Everyone wants to look like everyone else. Sometimes it's square hats, sometimes it's tall shoes. Why, last year the big thing was yellow ears. Now the green nose, everyone wants a green nose. Does a green nose make them smarter? Bruno asked. No. Does a green nose make them stronger? No. Does it make them faster? No. Then what does a green nose make them? Ellie looked at the smiled greener. But this small left as he looked at the window a long time. Wemmicks. Think they happier, they look like everyone else. But I made them different, on purpose. Freckles. Long noses, bright eyes. Dark eyes. These were my ideas. Now they want to look at the same. Not me, said Lucia. I'm happy just the way you make me. Me too. I don't need a green nose to feel special. Then he paused. Look at the village. I would like to see how a green nose will make it look up. Ellie smiled as the two stood to leave. Just remember, I made you different on purpose, he told them. From street level to line looked even longer, those noses even greener. Luciano and Punchinello looked away in front of the crowd and watched as one of the Wemmicks after another crept inside the nose-colored store, came out and painted. It's the last thing, barked Wemmick on the sidewalk. Don't be the only Wemmick with a plain nose. Who's that? Luciano shrugged and don't know. What's that when Mr. Woodwit? Volunteer Wemmick is behind them. Does he run the nose-painted store? Asked Punchinello. More than that, Wemmicks explained. Paint is what his word idea. So when a squared hat, tall shoes, yellow eyes, and then news with he decides what his would hit. Isn't that the best? Luciano took the good nose to the tall Wemmick and with the deep voice, big smile, tall hat, green nose, big bow, matching his green grows nose. Both were thinking the same question. Luciano asked who made them the new thing picker. They went look at puzzle and they looked at the question. Well, I don't know. I've always bright and wet. Look what comes around her new nose. Oh, said Wemmicks. Ah, armed in the same colors. Just painted. Wemmick didn't stop to speak. He just kept his nose far away would pass. All the green nose Wemmicks he did this. After all, he could see with front of the air. Walking around the high-nosed tower was Mr. Risky. Wemmicks walked into the house, doors even the other. Lucia Piazza had to be very careful. Wemmicks took up the whole street. Step back, he announced. It was Mayor. Make my Wemmer, my wife, coming up for a touch-up. In one hand, waved back at the citizens. The other guided through the crowd. Horrible, just horrible. Covering her nose with both hands, climbed up the pane, bumped up in the tree. Now the real name is shouting. Horrible, just horrible. As the crowd pleased, so he looked at the red, such a fuss over the green nose. Yeah. You'll never catch me in a nose-colored store. Oh, Punch, I was hoping you'd go. Punchinello, recognized the voice immediately. Twiggy. He turned and looked at the wide-eyed, street-smiling Wemmick. The ears began to turn red. They always knew he saw her. He reached up and covered them. Why don't you paint your nose, Punch? I painted mine. Everyone else painted theirs. Besides, you look green. Twiggy reached up and touched the tip of the nose. Yours is so cute. With that, she turned and walked away. Bye-bye, she waved. Punchinello moved one hand from the ear to the nose. He turned and looked at the reflection of the store window. Lucy had to grab his hand to give him attention. Come on, Punchinello, let's go. As he walked past the store, he noticed Willie Whitney examining his nose in a handheld mirror. Later at home, he did the same. I never noticed before, but my nose sure looks pale. The next morning, Punchinello walked up the street with his friends, Split and Woody. Are you really thinking about this? Sort of. They say they painted stings in your nose. Woody volunteered and he thinks the brush could be your nose. When you count it, and it only looks like sandpaper. Sprinted nodded. Ah, Punchinello put a finger on his lips. Punching a orange crowd, green nose, Wemmicks sitting square. Some things going on. The mayor was standing on the platform. His wife, nose freshly painted, and Willie waited on the other side of him. Welcome, one and all, to the first meeting of the Nosy Wemmicks Club, he announced. Your glancing green upset parts of wheat wicker. As for one, began looking at his eyes. Are you classy? Are you keen? You're awesome. You are green. Proud of the poetry, the mayor smiled, and the women applauded. Well, we owe Mr. Willie. He shouted, come over the nose. The pointer, shout. Everyone applauded even louder. People love me because of you. One shouted. I have more friends, cried another. With a green nose, I am better Wemmick, exclaimed a third. The mayor hung the medal round the neck of the Willie Whip. You have changed the face of William Wicksville. To salute your brilliance without you could look. The mayor paused, looking right below. Then he saw Punchinello's friends move their direction, declared the scoffle laugh then. Everyone else laughed too. Punchinello and his two friends lowered their heads and covered their noses. Let's hear it, Willie Whithead, shouted the mayor. The Wemmick coder's cure for common nose. As the townspeople shouted and applauded, Woody, Splint, and Punchinello quickly turned and walked away. He didn't stop until he stood in front of the noise-coloring shop. Within the matter of minutes, all three were painted and walking down Wemmick's Lane. Hey, Punchinello, asked Splint, pushing the nose upward, and I'm doing it right. Punchy didn't look. I didn't see you, so I turned my nose in the air. Woo, this is a short work. Not only do you have to get pointed, but you have to walk weird. Yeah, but doesn't feel great to be witted. Punchinello asked, and it was 3 days later, he hung on the other green noses and made their weekly visits to the nose and curses of noise polish. They bought noise covers for the cold days and nose umbrellas and rain ones, and all three read Winnie's new book, Winter by a Nose. Most of them enjoyed looking noses unpainted Wemmicks. One day, when they feeling especially smug, Splint said to Punchinello, I can't imagine who would be green nose. Punchinello agreed. Anyone without a green nose is so what? Voice in trouble. I was Lucia. Lucia was embarrassed. I wasn't seeing you in a while, he said. You haven't seen anyone in a long time, except for yourself. He started to speak but didn't, but the brother said, and I was even more bothered with what I saw. He saw in the next morning that three were walking into Wemmicks Fell. Standing on the other side of the road was Wemmick on the red nose. He needs to get with it, to each other, and then they saw another. Wemmick saw the red nose, then a third and a fourth. By the time they were all of the village were surrounded by red-nosed Wemmicks, they all noses were weird, lined to what they painted. Step right up, shouted Willie. With it, from the steps of the store, green noses are out, red noses are in. But when we got to your noses painted green, they told him. No problem. Our red will cover the green. Step up right into red style. With three friends looking at each other, they were in the style. What could you do but in line and have their noses painted red? But a few days they fitted in till one morning they saw blue nose Wemmick. Oh no, said each other, not again. So they changed colors, but it was the only time the noses were pink and noses were in. Then pink was out and yellow was in, the yellow was out, orange was in. Soon, Punchinello and his buddies were so many layers of paint in their noses they couldn't remember what they really looked like. This was to be the final color, said the child with orange noses. But once again, you were wrong. I'm so tired of this. Woody moaned, and they saw a purple painted Wemmick. I wish my nose was common again. The three sat on the rock and hung their heads. Me too. I should have listened to Ellie. You think you would help us? Why would you ask them? All three turned, sounded familiar voices. They said, he asked for it every day. He told them he is mad. Punchinello wondered, said you were mad. Punchinello looked up toward Ellie's house on the hill. He told me they couldn't cover. Could I make my friends? Of course. You should go with me, certainly. And the four began the long walk up the hill to his house. When they reached the top of the hill, they stepped the workshop and began walking toward them. He met them in the yard, one by one, and examined their noses, trying to fit in. Punchinello nodded. Did you succeed? Not really. Every time we got close, everyone changed the rules, and that's what it is. And my neck hurt from sticking it out in there. Woody added you would be built in the dark and wide away. We just want to be ourselves again, Smith said. I'm glad you hear that. Can we? Of course you can. I'm always help you where you make you be, then reach out of the pocket and pull out a piece of sandpaper. But it's going to take some time. And so Punchinello and his friends followed their maker into the horse shop, where he spent the rest of the day removing the paint. It hurt like sand did, but they're worth it to be normal again.